Okay, so actually it's a bit of an icebreaker first. I just thought it's ironic coming to the Packaging Innovations show, being privileged enough to be in the VIP lounge in the far corner here, and asking for a latte to be served in this mug rather than using a single-use plastic takeaway mug. And policy apparently is that they have to lid all their drinks they serve. So they couldn't serve me a latte poured directly into this mug. They had to give me a separate plastic-lined cup with a plastic lid, which I could then pour into this. And I think it just highlights the wastefulness in this day, the year 2020, that actually it's not just applying to e-commerce, where packaging generally only has a life of 24 hours before it's packed and arrives with a consumer. The takeaway industry is also one where generally sometimes the packaging only needs to last 10 minutes. But yeah, I thought that'd be an icebreaker. I'm Fred Lil. I'm the owner of Lil Packaging. We're the Europe's largest independent producer of e-commerce packaging. And this presentation is about sustainability and particularly plastic-free, with a case study particularly focused at Beauty Bay, a client we've been working with since summer of last year. So actually, if I just move on to the next case here, the real method that is behind how we provide improvement for internet retailers is best explained by our SURF method. So SURF. It's a process design method standing for, as you see here, sustainability, unboxing experience, reduction in returns and shipping, and faster fulfillment. Actually, generally the goal for internet retailers is ticking all of those boxes will achieve much faster growth than the 16% e-commerce industry average growth. One thing actually before I move on, in 2005, all internet retailers, or retailers let's just say, were thinking, shall I sell online? Absolutely, the right decision was, yes, I shall sell online. 2010, it was shall I ship internationally? Absolutely, yes. For many beauty brands in particular, the majority of their sales are actually export than even UK domestic dispatches. 5 years later again, 2015, shall I collate literally all the data of customer behavior going through my website? It became the year of data, data, data. 2020 or 2020, shall I go plastic free? We'll be looking back on this in 5 years and saying absolutely yes. You know, I'll talk about that a bit more, but that's something that I just wanted to say as an opening statement that will follow through this. So on to the next one. This is even actually said by IMRG. They're the UK's Association for Online Retailers, and it's a powerful statement. So on this first up letter of SURF, sustainability, they're saying, I think the retailers that get this right without inflating the unit cost to the customer will mop up in a few years. And actually, retailers who are basically stalling or failing to satisfy their clients' demand for improved sustainability are going to fall behind, particularly retailers who are focused on the millennials and the Gen Zs. Now, this kind of moves on to my main problem in e-commerce. In fact, it's the problem I have and the problem that I want to put the spotlight on the e-commerce packaging. Food and produce packaging has had a spotlight for 5 years, but e-commerce packaging has not. So in the UK, there are currently 2.3 billion parcels traveling through the network as part of UK e-commerce, half of which are all in bubble mailers rather, and the likes of polythene bags. I think you're all familiar with that term of bubble mailers and polythene bags, which were not recycled. Actually, I was making a statement at the Packaging Environmental Summit wearing a French Connection t-shirt, which I'm very proud they're very bold with their statements, of the FC UK plastic, and I think this 100% applies to e-commerce. So of this basically plastic waste in e-commerce, saying this at Packaging Environmental Summit, I was, let's say, heckled, challenged by the audience that said, but they can. And here's just what I want to show you about the likes of these substrates. So Sorry. So a bubble mailer having two different substrates of plastics and paper, people saying, actually, so you can recycle a bubble mailer. Well, actually, you need to separate that plastic from the paper inside, and you need to pull that apart to actually be able to recycle the different substrates. How many of us actually do this to the bubble mailers we receive through our post that we put into the blue recycle bin or whatever your color recycling bin is at home? It's a real impact we're having, and actually polythene bags of mixed substrates, co-extruded, various different colors. How on earth are we supposed to expect our recycling authorities to even be able to consider the commercial aspects of separating all that waste? So of these figures, 2/3 of this plastic waste goes into landfill and incineration. 1/3 is exported. Through the whole research with BBC Blue Planet and Lisbon in speaking on a lot of these subjects, actually, it turns out our largest destinations for our exported plastic waste are Vietnam, Indonesia, and Malaysia. Malaysia, of which has a waste mismanagement rate of up to 86%, often resulting in this plastic waste being dumped illegally. And that's why, when we see on these programs the odd UK retailer bag floating through the ocean, it's our waste. It's not theirs. It's not the Asian waste problem. So actually coming to the next letter of SURF, method of improving the packaging for internet retailers, U stands for the unboxing experience. So actually this is a survey by .com of e-commerce consumers showing that actually those that had a positive unboxing experience, 40% said they share an image, to the effect that Google are saying it's the most powerful form of free marketing. Encouraging your clients to vlog, the most powerful form of free marketing. Take advantage of that. Excuse me, moving on, John. So still on the unboxing experience, just remember, I guess, in your own lifetime, the most memorable experiences of your life, often it can be relating to the packaging. Whether you remember your first birthday as a 6-year-old child. My father, in fact, put a £1 coin inside a box, inside a box, inside a box, which was bigger than me. And actually, is it actually the intrigue of what's inside the box that makes us more excited than actually what's inside? You can apply the same with Christmas, seeing all these wrapped presents under the tree with your name on it, or even a marriage proposal. Actually, sometimes the ring's disappointing, but actually the ring box can be the most beautiful thing. Packaging delivers emotion. In terms of actually getting that brand alignment to elicit that emotion that is desired from your consumer or customer is a very important thing. So moving on to the next subject, returns, or reduced returns and shipping. This is just a statement Amazon uses as part of their ISTA program. It's hard to remember what ISTA stands for. It was talked about in the previous conversation. International Safe Transit Association, something like this. But in effect, this transit testing by Amazon is effectively, I think it was mentioned before, you can adopt this to your own methods, whether you're a startup business or actually just looking at your own damage protections. Effectively, it's 15 drops from knee high on your different surfaces and corners of your box, and then it's 2 drops from hip height down onto corners. So 17 different drops. Actually, people can do that at home just whether they're starting. The important thing is to pick the box size of use that you're typically putting your heaviest weight item in. So this size of box for Beauty Bay, generally 1.4 kilograms was the maximum items that would go inside there. So that's what that testing would be to look at. So actually, the 15 drops knee height, 460 millimeters, and the hip height, 910 millimeters. But actually, here's some results of the effective Amazon testing for Beauty Bay. And it just highlights by taking photos for your clients of actually the damage that happened in each of these instances. So you can see on the left, this was trial design 1 in brackets, and actually it wasn't until trial design 6 that actually the testing was satisfactory for the client. So it's something that can be adopted in anyone, to any retailer. So still on the subject of reducing returns and shipping, this is actually sometimes an interesting thing for a lot of internet retailers to learn. Letterboxes are actually rather imperial measurement. They generally come in 4 different widths: 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches, 12 inches. So 6, 8, 10 and 12. Well in excess of 90% of all UK letterboxes are either 10 or 12 inches wide, and most commonly 1.5 inches deep. That is the vast, vast majority. So there's a bit of a, let's say, cute sizing that is important to ensure you can get the maximum number of successful parcels and minimize your number of returns back to depot. It's actually, I personally believe, actually Royal Mail's introduction of large letter in 2006, being 250 millimeters maximum width, was a lot based on this data, knowing that actually generally 10 inches is covers the majority. So just an interesting fact there. Now, Beauty Bay, before I move on to the next slide, was one of their reasons for actually optimizing that. So there's the introduction of 2 small sizes, which actually snuck just under that 38 millimeter or 1.5 inches maximum thickness. So moving on to the final letter of SURF, our SURF method to improve internet retailers' packaging experience. Faster fulfillment. Now this is very simple theory up on the screen here. It's basically saying 2 times faster effectively could mean half labor, or 2 times faster could mean double the capacity for growth. Now bear in mind, as I mentioned before, e-commerce is growing at 16% per year. Actually, it's the latter that tends to be very much appealing for future scalability without having to move to a larger warehouse. So just putting this into context with an example. Now I need to point out this is not a Beauty Bay example, but often packaging spend for an internet retailer is 1/3 of their total fulfillment labor spend. So in an example where an internet retailer is spending £100,000 on packaging, the likelihood is that they're spending approximately £300,000 on labor. So this puts into context, if you're able to, whether you're selling packaging or whether you're buying packaging, implement something that can be proven to be 20% faster in fulfillment. In this example, it can save £60,000 worth of labor. That said, 99 out of 100 retailers, that are growing at these rates will always choose a term that Amazon call peak employment avoidance. It basically means that with your same number of skilled permanent fulfillment labor, you can avoid the need to scale up at peak of November, December time, training temporary staff, particularly when those staff are actually statistically, sourced from Pack Support here, 44% slower than well-experienced packers. So actually, I'll come on to the results now, the bit you've all been waiting for. We call it Surf Up. Surf Up the results to an internet retailer, and how basically this Surf method actually reduced the overall spend to Beauty Bay. So on the subject S for sustainability, before Surf, they were using Beauty Bay 1/2 ton of plastic tape, 45 tons of void fill paper, and as a result, after the Surf method implementation summer of last year, they had no longer any need for plastic tape, even for customer returns, since actually a second strip of peel and seal was actually applied on the inside of the box here. So even as well, to the extent of having built in with the box what's known as breeze paper. It's like a friction adhesive paper that grips the item inside the box, and it's integrated within the package to avoid that void fill need. FSC accreditation was on all of the products produced using eco-friendly inks, and one big step that actually is happening in the coming weeks is actually using the plastic-free accreditation printed right on top of the boxes. That's a big thing that is going to be kudos to their customers. So moving on to the unboxing experience before the Surf method implementation. Very poor social media engagement as far as the boxes were concerned. In fact, Beauty Bay are known for having one of the largest social media followings in internet retailing. But actually, they felt at the time their exterior was a bit of bland, needed improvement. And we could actually only find one image of their old packaging on social media as an example here, where if you compare that to basically the 9 slides where I gave you a kind of sneak peek earlier, if we go back to it, this is actually client imagery. This isn't photos taken by Beauty Bay. This is their clients taking photos, vlogging, putting posts on social media to the point that they've had thousands of social media interactions. So moving back to where I was, in terms of they were able to print Beauty Bay's particular marketing campaigns on each box with every different print run, increasing brand exposure and massively influencing positive customer feedback. I'm on to now of Surf, reduced shipping. Before the Surf method, they had industry standard levels of returns, and actually negligible returns are reported now. It's, in fact, I think in the words of Beauty Bay, almost none is the words I've had. I mean, actually, in terms of improved customer satisfaction, that's been a mammoth thing. Finally, faster fulfillment. Now, when I explained earlier about generally the fact that packaging spend can often mean up to 3 times the cost in fulfillment labour, the average packing time for Beauty Bay before this Surf method implementation was 86 seconds average pack time. After the Surf method, it's 55 seconds average pack time. So 36% pack labour gain, that's monumental. Scaling for future growth and also making labour more effective. So the final slide I'm coming on to here. Again, I just wanted to spotlight again this whole e-commerce packaging. Global plastic production is set to double to, I think, 800 million tons by 2040. That's a big, big figure, and the fact that it's due to double in 20 years is actually quite scary. We are looking in e-commerce as every 5 years a new cycle. Like I said, 2005, shall I sell online? 2010, shall I ship internationally? 2015, data. 2020, shall I go plastic free? I would just say to everyone in the audience that can either influence by selling packaging to internet retailers or basically buying e-commerce packaging, just needs to think, actually, you can be the one that makes the difference. You can be the one that actually eradicates this waste in the e-commerce packaging sector. But that concludes my session. I'm told there's no time for Q&A after each session. But thank you for listening, everyone. Thank you.